The shattered Alliance commander Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the UES Prometheus, watching the holographic display that showed the current positions of human colonies across the Andromeda sector. 23 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Federation, and those years had been marked by unprecedented cooperation and peace. The Federation consisted of 12 species, each bringing unique technologies and perspectives to create a harmony that had lasted for over a century. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as Lieutenant Marcus Webb monitored long-range communications. From his station, the crew of the Prometheus had been patrolling the outer rim for 3 months, ensuring the safety of human settlements and maintaining the delicate balance of interstellar relations. These routine patrols had become second nature, and Sarah had begun to believe that the age of conflict was truly behind them. Everything changed in an instant. "Commander," Lieutenant Webb called out, his voice carrying an urgency that made everyone on the bridge turn their attention to him. "I'm receiving multiple distress signals from the Titan colony. The transmission is fragmented, but it appears they're under attack." Sarah moved quickly to Webb's station, her heart racing as she examined the incoming data. The Titan colony housed nearly 50,000 human civilians, including families who had been living there for generations. The colony was one of humanity's most successful settlements, known for its advanced agricultural systems and peaceful community. "Can you clean up the signal?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the growing concern in her chest. Webb's fingers flew across his console as he applied various filters and enhancement protocols. Slowly, the fragmented transmission began to clear, and the voice that emerged sent chills through everyone who heard it. "This is Governor Patricia Holmes of Titan Colony. We are under attack by unknown forces. Repeat, we are under attack. The orbital defense platforms have been destroyed, and enemy ships are bombing civilian areas. We have thousands of casualties," and the transmission cut to static before anyone could process the full implications of what they had heard. Communications Officer Alina Rodriguez spoke up from her station. "Commander, I'm receiving similar distress calls from the Aurora Settlement, New Geneva Colony, and the Meridian Research Station. All report being under attack simultaneously." Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. 4 separate human colonies spread across different star systems, all under attack at the same time. This wasn't a random pirate raid or a territorial dispute. This was coordinated warfare on a scale that defied explanation. "Signal all available Federation ships in the area," Sarah ordered. "Request immediate assistance for our colonies under attack." The response came faster than expected, but it wasn't what Sarah had hoped to hear. Lieutenant Webb looked up from his station with confusion written across his face. "Commander, I'm receiving responses from Federation vessels, but they're not offering assistance. They're ordering us to stand down and return to Earth space immediately." The bridge fell silent as the implications of this order sank in. Dr. Michael Torres, the ship's chief science officer, was the first to speak. "Commander, that doesn't make sense. According to Federation protocols, all member species are obligated to provide mutual defense assistance during attacks on civilian populations." Sarah's mind raced as she tried to understand what was happening. The Federation had always prided itself on protecting innocent lives, regardless of species. The idea that they would refuse to help human colonies under attack was inconceivable unless— "Lieutenant Rodriguez," Sarah said, her voice taking on a harder edge, "are you still receiving distress signals from our colonies?" "Yes, Commander." but they're getting weaker. It appears the attacks are intensifying. Rodriguez paused, then added with barely controlled emotion, "Commander, I just lost contact with the Aurora settlement entirely." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of thousands of lives on her shoulders. When she opened them again, her expression had changed. The diplomatic commander who had spent years building relationships with alien species was gone, replaced by someone who understood that humanity was facing an existential threat. "All departments, battle stations," Sarah announced over the ship's intercom. "We're changing course for the Titan colony. Maximum speed." Chief Engineer Robert Kim's voice crackled through the communication system. "Commander, we can push the engines to 110% capacity, but I need to know what we're dealing with. The Prometheus isn't designed for heavy combat." "We'll find out when we get there, Chief," Sarah replied. "But whatever's happening to our people, we're not going to abandon them." The journey to the Titan colony took 18 hours, and during that time, Sarah's crew worked tirelessly to gather intelligence about the attacks. What they discovered defied everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. Dr. Torres had been analyzing the energy signatures from the attacks, and his findings were disturbing. "Commander, I've completed my analysis of the weapon signatures we detected during the attacks. The energy patterns match Federation military technology, specifically weapons used by the Catharian Empire and the Valdres Collective." Sarah stared at the data on the main screen, unable to fully process what she was seeing. The Catharians had been humanity's closest allies in the Federation, sharing technology and cultural exchanges for over 2 decades. The Valdres Collective had been instrumental in helping humans establish their first colonies outside Earth's solar system. "You're certain about this analysis?" Sarah asked. "Absolutely certain," Torres replied. "The quantum signatures are unmistakable. These attacks were carried out by our supposed allies." The bridge crew exchanged glances filled with shock and growing anger. Lieutenant Webb spoke what everyone was thinking. "Commander, if the Federation species are the ones attacking our colonies, then we're not dealing with an external threat. We're dealing with betrayal on a scale that's never been seen before." Sarah nodded grimly. "Signal Earth, Command. Priority Alpha transmission. Tell them what we've discovered and recommend immediate defensive measures for all human settlements." The response from Earth came 6 hours later, and Admiral Catherine Brooks' face appeared on the main screen. The Admiral's expression was grim, and Sarah could see the weight of terrible knowledge in her eyes. "Commander Chen, Admiral Brooks began, we've received your report, and I'm afraid I have to confirm your worst fears. We've lost contact with 17 human colonies in the past 24 hours. All attacks were carried out by Federation forces." Sarah felt her stomach drop. 17 colonies meant hundreds of thousands of human lives. "Admiral, what are our orders?" "You're to proceed to the Titan colony as planned, but be aware that this is likely a trap. Intelligence suggests that the Federation has been planning this operation for months. They've been systematically positioning their forces to strike at our most vulnerable settlements while our military assets are deployed on routine patrols." The implications were staggering. The Federation hadn't just decided to attack humanity on a whim. They had been planning genocide while smiling and sharing meals with human diplomats. The betrayal was so complete and calculated that it left Sarah struggling to comprehend the depth of their deception. "Admiral," Sarah said, "what do we know about their overall strategy? They're trying to eliminate our colonial population while our fleet is scattered across the galaxy. Once they've destroyed our settlements, they plan to move on Earth itself. Commander, I need you to understand something. The Federation has revealed their true nature. They never saw us as equals. They saw us as a threat that needed to be eliminated. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing the same mixture of shock, anger, and determination on every face. These people had dedicated their lives to peaceful cooperation with alien species, only to discover that those same species had been planning their extermination. "What are our orders, Admiral?" Sarah asked. "Gather whatever intelligence you can from the Titan system, then return to Earth immediately. We're activating protocols that have been dormant for over 20 years. Humanity is going to war, and we're going to need every ship and every crew member we can get." The transmission ended, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts and the terrible weight of what lay ahead. The age of cooperation was over, replaced by a struggle for survival that would determine whether humanity had a future in the galaxy. As the Prometheus dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Titan system, Sarah's worst fears were confirmed. Where the thriving colony should have been, there was only debris and the fading energy signatures of massive explosions. The orbital stations were gone, the surface installations were destroyed, and there were no life signs from the planet below .50. 1,000 human lives had been extinguished in a matter of hours. "Commander," Lieutenant Webb called out, his voice hollow with grief. "I'm detecting multiple Federation fleets approaching from different vectors. We're surrounded." Sarah looked at the tactical display and saw the trap that had been laid for them. Over 200 alien ships were closing in on their position, representing a coordinated effort by multiple Federation species. The Prometheus was alone, outnumbered, and completely outgunned. "All hands, this is the commander," Sarah announced over the ship's intercom. "We're about to face overwhelming odds, but we're not going to die quietly. We're going to send a message back to Earth that will ensure our deaths have meaning. Prepare for battle." The first wave of attacks came from the Catherian fleet, their distinctive blue energy weapons lighting up space around the Prometheus. The ship's shields held for the first few minutes, but Sarah knew they couldn't last long against such overwhelming firepower. "Chief Kim," Sarah called out, "I need you to prepare the ship's reactor for overload. We're going to take as many of them with us as we can." "Understood, Commander," Kim replied from the engineering section. "I can have the reactor ready in 15 minutes. Sarah nodded, then turned to Dr. Torres. "Doctor, I need you to compile everything we've learned about the Federation's betrayal. Pack it into a quantum burst transmission and prepare to send it to Earth on my command." The battle raged around them as the crew of the Prometheus fought desperately against impossible odds. They managed to destroy 3 enemy ships before their shields finally failed. But Sarah knew it was only a matter of time before the end came. "Commander," Torres reported, "the transmission is ready. All intelligence about the Federation's betrayal has been compiled and encrypted." Sarah looked around the bridge one last time, seeing the faces of people who had become family over the years of service together. They deserved better than this, but they would not die in vain. "Send the transmission," Sarah ordered, "then prepare for a reactor overload." The quantum burst transmission shot through space toward Earth, carrying with it the proof of the Federation's betrayal and the coordinates of their fleet positions. At the same time, Chief Kim initiated the reactor overload sequence that would turn the Prometheus into a massive bomb. The explosion that followed destroyed the Prometheus and 17 Federation ships, but more importantly, it delivered a message that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity had been betrayed, but they would not go quietly into extinction. The war for survival had begun, and the aliens would soon learn what humans were truly capable of when pushed to the brink. Asterisk. The Reckoning Unleashed. The quantum burst transmission from the Prometheus reached Earth Command 47 hours after the ship's destruction. Admiral Catherine Brooks stood in the Emergency Command Center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by the military and civilian leadership of humanity. The holographic display showed the devastating scope of the Federation's betrayal, and the silence in the room was deafening. President David Martinez was the first to speak, his voice carrying the weight of a species facing extinction. Admiral, what's our current military status? We have approximately 400 ships scattered across human space, Brooks replied. Most are exploration vessels or light patrol craft. We have maybe 50 ships that could be considered true warships, and they're all designed for peacekeeping operations, not full-scale warfare. Secretary of Defense Dr. Lisa Chang leaned forward in her chair. Admiral, based on the intelligence from Commander Chen, how many Federation ships are we facing? Brooks manipulated the holographic display to show the estimated Federation fleet. Positions. Conservative estimates put their combined fleet strength at over 3,000 vessels. They have the advantage in numbers, technology, and positioning. By every conventional measure, we're facing certain defeat. The room fell silent again as the reality of their situation sank in. Humanity was outnumbered 7-1 by species that had been preparing for this war while pretending to be allies. The Federation had superior technology, better positioning, and the element of surprise. President Martinez stood up slowly, his expression hardening with each passing moment. Admiral, there's something the Federation doesn't know about us. Something we've been keeping secret for 25 years. Every person in the room turned to look at the President. Admiral Brooks frowned, wondering what secret could possibly change the dynamics of such overwhelming odds. Mr. President, Brooks said carefully, what are you referring to? Martinez walked to a secured console and entered a complex authorization code. The main holographic display changed, showing a new set of data that made everyone in the room gasp. Hidden facilities on Europa, Titan, and the asteroid belt. Secret research stations in the outer system. Technology development programs that had been running in complete secrecy for over 2 decades. The Omega Protocol, Martinez said simply. When we first joined the Federation, some of our brightest minds were concerned about becoming too dependent on alien technology. They convinced me to authorize a black budget program that would ensure humanity always had a technological edge, hidden from our supposed allies. Dr. Chang stared at the display in amazement. Mr. President, the scale of these operations is enormous. How did we keep this secret from the Federation? By making them believe we were exactly what they thought we were, Martinez replied, naive, trusting, and technologically inferior, while they were congratulating themselves on their superior knowledge. Our best scientists were developing technologies that would make their weapons obsolete. Admiral Brooks studied the data with growing excitement. Mr. President, what exactly are we looking at here? Martinez smiled grimly. Gravitational manipulation systems that can create artificial black holes. Quantum torpedoes that can phase through any known shield technology. Stealth systems that render our ships completely invisible to Federation sensors. And most importantly, manufacturing capabilities that can produce 1,000 ships per month once fully activated. The room erupted in excited conversations as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't defenseless after all. They had been preparing for this possibility for decades. building secret arsenals and developing technologies that would give them a decisive advantage. Admiral Martinez continued, "I'm authorizing the immediate activation of all Omega Protocol facilities. Dr. Jennifer Stone will oversee the technological deployment from the Europa station. General Patrick Moore will coordinate fleet construction from the Titan shipyards. We're going to show the Federation what happens when they underestimate humanity." Dr. Stone's image appeared on the communication screen, her face showing the excitement of a scientist who had been waiting 25 years to unveil her work. "Mr. President, we can have the first wave of new ships ready within 60 days. The technology we've developed will give us overwhelming superiority in any direct engagement." General Moore's face appeared on another screen. "Mr. President, the Titan shipyards are ready to begin full production immediately. Once we reach peak capacity, we'll be able to replace our entire fleet every 3 months." Admiral Brooks felt a surge of hope for the first time since the crisis began. "Mr. President, what are our strategic objectives?" Martinez's expression became ice-cold. "Complete and total elimination of the Federation threat." "They chose genocide, Admiral. They're going to learn that humanity doesn't simply defend itself. When we're betrayed, we respond with absolute annihilation." The next 90 days saw the most massive military buildup in human history. The secret facilities that had been hidden for decades went into full production, creating ships and weapons that incorporated technologies the Federation had never imagined. The new vessels were not just superior to Federation ships, they were so advanced that encounters would be massacres rather than battles. Admiral Brooks stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, the first ship to be constructed using the Omega Protocol technologies. The vessel was twice the size of any previous human ship, armed with weapons that could destroy planets, and protected by shields that could withstand attacks from entire fleets. "Admiral," Captain Diana Foster reported, "from the tactical station, all ships are ready for the first strike. Target confirmed as the Catherian home system." Brooks looked at the display showing the human fleet that would carry out the attack. 200 ships, each one more advanced than anything the Federation possessed. The Catherians would never see them coming. "Signal the fleet," Brooks ordered. "Begin Phase 1 of the extermination protocol." The human fleet moved through space like ghosts, their stealth systems rendering them completely invisible to Catherian sensors. The aliens continued their normal routines, unaware that death was approaching from the darkness between stars. Captain Foster led the first wave, her squadron of stealth destroyers slipping past the outer defense platforms without detection. The gravitational torpedoes they carried were humanity's most devastating weapons, capable of creating localized black holes that would consume entire space stations. "Target acquired," Foster reported. "Catherian Military Command Center. Fire," Brooks commanded. The gravitational torpedo struck the command center, and reality itself seemed to tear apart. The massive station was pulled into a miniature black hole, disappearing from existence in seconds. The Catherians didn't even have time to realize they were under attack. Commander Alex Rivers led the second wave, his fighters moving through the system like deadly phantoms. The quantum phase weapons they carried could pass through energy shields as if they didn't exist, making Federation defenses useless. "This is Rivers to all squadrons," Alex announced over the communication channel. "Remember, no survivors. The Federation chose extermination, so that's what they'll receive." The human fighters swept through the Catherian system with methodical precision. Every military installation was destroyed. Every warship was reduced to space dust. Every defensive platform was eliminated. The Catherians tried to fight back, but their weapons couldn't even detect the human ships, let alone damage them. Captain Sarah Kim commanded the Planetary Assault Division, her ships equipped with weapons designed to eliminate entire populations. The biological agents they carried were specifically engineered to target Catherian physiology while leaving human life completely unharmed. Kim to Fleet Command, Sarah reported, beginning atmospheric deployment of Agent Omega-7. The biological weapons spread through the Catherian atmosphere like an invisible plague, targeting the specific genetic markers that made Catherian biology unique. Within hours, every Catherian on the planet was dead, while the human prisoners who had been held there remained completely unharmed. The systematic destruction of the Catherian Empire took exactly 72 hours. When it was over, an entire species had been eliminated from the galaxy. Every ship had been destroyed, every military installation had been razed, and every population center had been sterilized. Admiral Brooks stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the data reports from the complete annihilation of humanity's former allies. The Federation had wanted to commit genocide, and now they were learning what true genocide looked like when carried out by a species that had been preparing for war for decades. Admiral, Captain Foster reported, "We're receiving communications from the remaining Federation species. They're requesting negotiations." Brooks smiled coldly. "Tell them that humanity doesn't negotiate with species that attempt genocide. Signal the fleet. We're moving to the next target." The war continued for 18 months, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Federation's superior numbers meant nothing against technology that rendered their weapons useless. Their strategic advantages evaporated when faced with ships that could appear and disappear at will. One by one, the Federation species were eliminated. The Valdris Collective was destroyed in a single devastating attack that lasted less than 6 hours. The Morphic Alliance was exterminated using quantum weapons that unraveled their molecular structure. The Silicon Confederacy was eliminated by gravitational weapons that turned their worlds into compressed matter. Each campaign was a masterpiece of tactical precision and technological superiority. The Federation had thought they were fighting primitive humans with basic technology. Instead, they found themselves facing a species that had been secretly developing weapons of mass destruction for decades. The final battle took place in the Galactic Federation capital system, where the surviving alien species had gathered their remaining forces for a last desperate stand. Admiral Brooks commanded over 1,000 human ships, each one capable of single-handedly destroying entire fleets. Admiral Captain Foster reported, "Enemy fleet detected. They're attempting to form a defensive perimeter around the capital world." Brooks looked at the tactical display showing the pathetic remnants of the once mighty Federation fleet. Less than 200 ships remained, crewed by aliens who finally understood the magnitude of their mistake. "Open a channel to the Federation." "Survivors," Brooks ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the faces of alien commanders who had once considered themselves humanity's superiors. Now they looked terrified, desperate, and broken. "This is Admiral Brooks of the Human Extinction Fleet," she announced. "You chose to betray our trust. You chose to murder our civilians. You chose genocide. Now you will learn what happens when humans respond to betrayal." The Federation commander, a Catherian named Veltar, who had somehow survived the destruction of his species, spoke with a voice filled with desperation. "Admiral, we surrender. We were wrong. Please, show mercy." Brooks' expression remained cold and implacable. You showed no mercy to the children on Titan Colony. You showed no mercy to the families on Aurora Settlement. You will receive exactly the same mercy you gave to our people. The final battle lasted exactly 37 minutes. The Federation's remaining ships were eliminated with surgical precision, their crews given just enough time to understand that their species were being erased from existence. The capital world was subjected to the same biological agents that had been used on the Catherian worlds, ensuring that no trace of the Federation would survive. When the war ended, humanity stood alone in the galaxy. Every species that had participated in the betrayal had been completely eliminated. Their worlds had been cleansed, their ships had been destroyed, and their civilizations had been erased from history. Admiral Brooks stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking out at the empty space where the Federation capital had once been. The war was over, but the message had been sent to any species that might be watching from the dark spaces between stars. Communications, Brooks ordered, broadcast this message on all galactic frequencies. The transmission that followed would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. This is Admiral Catherine Brooks of the Human Star Empire. The Galactic Federation chose to betray our trust and attempt the genocide of our species. They have been eliminated. Let this serve as a warning to any species that might consider humanity weak or naive. We are neither. We are patient, we are thorough, and we do not forgive betrayal. The galaxy is now under human protection. Any species that threatens human interests will receive the same fate as the Federation. There will be no negotiations, no mercy, and no survivors. This is the price of betraying humanity. The age of cooperation was over. The age of human dominance had begun. Asterisk.